Attention, bobsled riders! You will soon be embarking on a thrilling podcast down the icy slopes of the Matterhorn. So please remain seated, keeping your hands, arms, feet, and legs inside the bobsled at all times. Auf Wiedersehen!
Well, welcome back, Matterhorn Yodelers. I am hosting this episode. I am Japheth. Well, Japheth. It's an early morning here on the mountainside.
Yes. It's early. We're recording this early.
And I'm here with
Jackie
and
Peter.
And this is our Star Wars episode.
Yeah.
For May 4th.
Which I think is coming out. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
May
I think
3rd,
this is May 3rd. Okay, so
it's close enough.
But you could be listening to this on May 4th, and if that's the case, May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
Or if you're recovering after Cinco de Mayo, there's Revenge of the 6th. You can listen to it on that. That's why I was. But when people always debate, is it the 5th or the 6th? And I say the 6th because
6th makes more sense.
Because Cinco de Mayo is a tough one.
Yeah.
Alright, so we have come together and we've got this good idea, bad idea scenario for Star Wars video games.
And this is either a good podcast or a bad
one. Or a bad podcast. So we're spitting off ideas for planning a podcast. We're like, oh, we'll try this. And as we're going through the homework, we're like, this could be good or this could be bad. So bear with us as we go in uncharted, as we go to the unknown regions of the galaxy of Star Wars.
Yes.
So the scenario is good ideas, bad ideas of video games, as if we're kind of shooting it off or brainstorming in the Skywalker Ranch, and you know this is coming from the perspective of the needs of the fans. We are fans, and we want to share we want more of this because we do get a lot from the Star Wars, portion of Disney, the company, and
yeah, a lot of movies, a lot of TV shows coming next year, and
there's video games.
Well, the Bad Batch series just is, I think
it's getting released this time.
Yeah, it's either on the Friday after this post or before. I'm not sure.
I think they're doing it May 4th.
Are they doing it actually on May 4th?
I think they're doing May 4th, and then they jump into it.
That makes sense.
So yeah, there's so much media. You got comic books and video games, and so we're like, what would be we have fond memories of playing video games. I don't know about Yodeler Jackie over here.
You guys playing video games, watching your frustration was always entertaining. Especially when it was the pod racing game.
Oh yeah.
You guys
boost,
yes.
And then you hit the wall as you're trying to go through a little crack and Tatooine.
Yeah.
So we try to get the best time.
The highest lap time.
Yes.
Which we had the cheat code for invincibility and all that stuff, so there was no punishment for constantly boosting in that game. And
no.
So it was just and every time it would go into cycles when it would be Japheth would be boost, he'd be I've got the highest lap time, and then I would sit there for a week trying to beat it, and it'd be I got the highest lap time, and then he would be back on trying to beat mine. It was very competitive.
It was, but it helped enhance that episode 1 fun aspect of that movie.
I know a lot of people criticize the pod racing scene from episode 1. I thought it was one of the best parts of episode 1.
Yes, as I go back and watch it, it's fun.
It's a fun scene, especially if you've got a good sound system. You got Sebulba's engine, boom, 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 boom.
Oh
boom.
yeah, it's all revving up.
Yeah,
and the video game just got. So I think, scenes from movies and books and other medias can be really enhanced by video games, and so that's why we're coming together to just spitfire some ideas of what would be fun to play. And I don't play video games anymore, but they have great scenes that feed the Star Wars universe, that give more insight to what's happened. So you have Battlefront 2, where they show scenes of post Battle of Endor, and through the perspective at the tactical level with various characters.
And they've been really good about including the Star Wars video games as part of the Star Wars canon.
They are.
So, I mean, that's definitely a difference from the time when we grew up, where most of that was not canon.
Where you got Chewie with a buzz cut from,
Yeah.
What is it, Shadows of the Empire?
Yeah. There were aspects of that. There was definitely a lot of novelization stories. So it's great to see that they're, at least Lucasfilm is embracing the video game aspect and incorporating that into the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, and so it's so the left hand or the right hand is what the left hand's doing, as opposed to what may have not have been going on in the past. So yes, well, this is about video games, but this is also if you're not a video game fan like myself, it still has a story, and so we're really just spitfiring ideas, and then you can reach back to your childhood and be like, yeah, I wouldn't want to play that game. That would be a horrible game. So, all right, Jackie, why don't you start off with a good idea that you've got?
So, okay. I do not know Star Wars lingo very well, so you're going to have to help me out with this.
You want a C-3PO, a C-3PO interpretation game? Is that where we're going? No.
He teaches you different languages.
Teaches you the Star Wars lingo.
He's the Rosetta Stone.
I would pay money to learn language from Anthony Daniels as C-3PO. That would be amazing.
You just can't ask for Sith because he's not
That's
programmed
right.
to do that.
He's not allowed to.
He's not allowed.
Otherwise, he'll sound like rawr, rawr. He sounds like a demon when he does it.
Alright, that's a good idea. Okay, so it would be like, where's Grogu?
Where's Grogu?
So, okay, so in Rebels, and they are in the Jedi Temple that goes through different time.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So the goal is you're a Jedi Master or whatever, trying to find Grogu in different points of the Star Wars timeline, because he's been around for many, many years. While the story of Star Wars, main storyline, is going on, but you're kind of in the background trying to find Grogu.
So, okay, so are
is
you...
it kind of like a Where's Waldo situation?
Yeah,
basically. Not that you're trying to do something. It's more of oh, where's Grogu on the Death Star? Where's Grogu?
So it's just like Pokemon,
yeah.
64, where you're trying to capture pictures of them. So what are you doing?
There we go.
Capturing...
Yeah.
There we go. We got
Find Grogu as he goes
Grogu,
through.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the macaroon shop. Because that guy is going to be stealing some of those. Or the place where he's eating the little eggs.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
What is it? He's, contributing to mass genocide.
Mass genocide. We thought it would be cute. No, not cute.
Not cute. You talked about how this is the last of their people, and he's literally killing them.
I'm cute. No, that worked for me. All right, I like that. Did you have ideas of where Grogu could go in time? Cool scenes?
Yeah, it would be like when Darth Vader is fighting a Skywalker, and Goku's in the background.
He's popping up behind Palpatine's seat. I'd be the one where the Order 66, where is he in the temple?
You're just watching Anakin just wow!
You just see a little tear come down.
Him hiding. Him at the cantina of Mos Eisley.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Him at the table with his...
He's
drinking some soup.
Oh, that'd be good. Or he's playing in the band with Jabba.
Yes.
He's got a little flute.
No, he's wearing that Princess Leia's
slave outfit. Oh boy. All right. Do you? All right. Should we go with a bad idea now, Jackie?
Okay, for me?
Yeah.
Okay, this one's probably pretty bad, but Emperor Palpatine's dating simulator.
Ooh, so
So-
are we trying to find a date for Emperor
So
Palpatine?
it's kind of like it's like a choose your own adventure
Yes.
thing where you're the emperor.
Oh, you're the emperor. I have foreseen our relationship.
We'll find out Rey is Emperor Palpatine's like granddaughter. Like, oh. All you hear him going with his wife. Good. The force is strong, yeah. Like, oh god. Oh, so what kind of adventures is
This
like,
is fun. I think this is a great idea. Not a bad idea. This is a great idea.
comedically?
It sounds a lot better than most of my games. So
I mean, you guys really built it up really well. So, yeah, I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like, you know,
Is he taking place in like dating in like Earth, or is he taking like where would you?
No, he's
It's like Chad Vader.
You first start
Chad
off.
Vader. Oh, I forgot about Chad
You first
Vader.
start off like a Tinder, but you're swiping.
Okay. So I'm curious who would swipe on Palpatine. Well, I do like
Palpatine to try.
He's pretty powerful.
He's got connections.
Or is he catfishing?
Yeah.
He puts an old photo.
Yes, his
Oh,
younger
yeah, of
days.
course. Everyone puts a younger
Puts a younger photo of himself
His
up.
Darth Plagueis days when he's an
Like,
apprentice.
oh, he looks good. It's like, oh no, you don't look so
It
good.
was kind of funny to see like them meet for the first time. They're like, "Oh, I had a what is it? A skin treatment, electricity."
What's wrong with your fingers? There's bones sticking out of your fingers. You're attached to a chair. You're like floating.
Oh gosh.
Bet you didn't expect your game to go that far, did you?
No, I did not.
All right, Peter. What's a good idea for you?
All right. This one actually came to me this morning. Was an R2D2 game, because if you listen to our prior Star Wars episode, I talked about how R2D2 is one of my favorite characters and probably one of the most underrated characters in the game in terms of his influence to the overarching storyline. And you see R2D2 do a variety of. He does a lot of different things where he's constantly repairing things, he's hacking into computers and whatnot. And it just occurred to me, like, it'd be interesting to see what it is that R2D2 is actually, like, doing when he plugs into an outlet point. Like, what is he, like, visualizing?
Is it like a Wreck-It Ralph kind of situation? R2 in the network?
Yeah,
network?
just so it'd be like a puzzle-solving game where you're trying to, like, gain access. You're trying to unlock certain locks to gain access to help progress the main storyline. Or, you know, like, obviously it's not like this big, major, exciting game, but it'd be like a fun, like, little puzzle game where, like, oh, you gotta go to this part of the ship to repair it. We're in the middle of a battle. Or you go from area to area, you'll go through the Death Star, hack into the Death Star, and look at all the plans. You know, just a casual puzzle game featuring R2D2.
It kind of reminds me of the Muppet game we used to grow up playing.
Yes.
Where their
that
Muppets get
Muppet
sucked
game.
into the computer and
Yeah.
you gotta do the little puzzles.
The puzzle games to get out of the computer.
And the Doom-inspired Swedish chef.
I love that.
Yes.
And he's just like...
You're like whisking tomatoes.
And
or-
cauliflower comes up behind the corner and you attack it with the egg beater.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
That was a good. That was a good.
Did the
computer game.
sequencing with yeah, so I can definitely
like
see that
that.
game with R2D2 or like or the aspect of like what is he doing when he like taps in and what is he
Yeah.
battling, why is he so good at what he does?
That's true.
He could like, oh, I'm talking to the computer, and I love that scene with C3 was like, you don't have to trust computers or
I told you to talk to strange computers, and it's all like the computer told you.
Because yeah, we see the computers are very algorithmic, but as we know, they're like with Solo, when
They've got personality.
they've got personality where they upload like almost a sentient being, intelligence or an AI into the Millennium Falcon.
Yep.
And so like forget like these robots have personalities beyond like their computers. So like we said, we only think of ones and zeros.
Yes.
What kind of language do they
I
have in
never
Star
even
Wars?
Think about that.
It just came to me right now. I was like, oh wow, it's so dynamic in how they talk.
That was just something that I came up with this morning when I was like, I gotta come up with more ideas.
I slipped
like it.
on the toilet and hit my head, and I saw this R2D2.
So, and then I don't think this is a bad game at all. So everyone talked about how when Star Wars first came out, that it was a different aspect of the future sci-fi, because at that time it was very like clean, very white, very orderly. And then they said Star Wars brought like a dirtiness to it, and I go, yes, but it's still pretty clean. Like you look at like Mos Eisley, for example, there's hardly any trash anywhere except for like maybe giant crash ships or whatnot. But like for the most part, it's clean. So why not have a janitor game?
Not about this.
A janitor game, and honestly, the inspiration for this came about. I watched a Robot Chicken sketch where they had this janitor. He's cleaning up in Naboo, and all of a sudden Darth Maul falls down in two parts, and he's sweeping them away. He's like, "Oh, I got to get that transfer to Coruscant." and then later on it cuts to him sweeping again in Coruscant, and then Mace Windu flops down in front of him. He's like, "Oh, I got to get transferred to the Death Star." And then he sees the Emperor fall down. He's like, "What do they do up there?" And that kind of inspired this idea. It's like, yeah, you got this game where like your job is to clean things up, and it could be, you got to go to the cantina, you got to drag Greedo out of the cantina bar, or
Pull away the dead bodies.
yeah, like they do a really good job of making sure things are clean. So why not have a game where you're picking up after the scum and villainy of the Star Wars universe?
Yeah, I could see like there haven't been very many janitorial games, and so
Right.
I can see
There's
why.
a need for janitorial video game.
We always joked when we were in the military about like true military games. You always think everyone's like blowing up things and rushing and artillery and tanks. And the truth is, most of the time you spend in the military is cleaning. And it's boredom. And we always joked of like a real video game would be like police calling, where you're just picking up cigarette butts and trash in the middle of the desert, or you're mopping, the dirty floors. And so I could definitely see like not being a very popular game, or an aspect that's included into another Star Wars game.
And it's important.
Like,
It
where-
adds to the universe.
Where would Finn know where the trash compactor is?
That's right.
It's true.
Because he's custodial. So it worked out. All right. So I've got my good idea. What I propose is introducing the character Dr. Aphra. I don't know if you are familiar with this character.
No.
Okay, so this is a Marvel comic book character. And so this character is an archaeologist in Star Wars that goes around and collects different things. And you're thinking like, oh yes, Indiana Jones.
That's honestly what I was just
Of course. It's always
coming from you.
coming
yes.
from me. And I remember just picking up the comic book and I'm like, oh, this is it. But you have different characters. So Dr. Aphra is kind of like Bollock
Okay.
from what is it? Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
The French archaeologist that always one-ups Indy. And so this character is kind of the unethical one, where she finds artifacts and sells them for money. And so she's very Tomb Raider-esque. She runs with a crew where you see like a C-3PO and like an R2 unit, but they're the exact opposite. 000, who's the C-3PO character, is like a psychopath. wants to kill other beings and creatures. And you have R2, who's like this assassin droid. And so it's just kind of fun to like have these characters. You're like, oh, they're fun. They'll just be like sidekicks as Dr. Afra's trying to collect these different artifacts, or you can have one artifact that she's trying to get. In the comic books, she's interacting with Darth Vader, because Darth Vader's trying to find Sith artifacts, and so she's always trying to avoid him because he's going to kill her, and stuff like that. Or she works with Luke, trying to find Jedi. So there's different aspects with this character and how she can interweave within the Star Wars storyline. And it's kind of separate, but she's a fun character that's coming into this new Disney canon. There's just a new audiobook with her story coming out. So I think that would be a good introduction to more of an audience, the people that are not into the comic books or audiobooks, just to where maybe we can get a movie or a TV series with this character. And like I said, it's Tomb Raider meets Indiana Jones kind of character. And you also have a giant Wookiee called Black Kursatan, who is kind of a sidekick, but it's kind of watching over Afra because Afra like owes him money, and so he's like a sidekick so he can
it's kind of like
get his money back.
It's kind of like a Misty and Ash situation where Ash destroyed Misty's bike. And this is Pokemon. Sorry. Where Ash destroyed Misty's bike, and so Misty's just like basically stalking Ash until he gets her bike back.
Boy, what a journey. At one point you're like, you know what, this isn't worth my bike anymore, alright? So I thought that would be kind of a fun I could see that game playing where it's single player, or you can have other players join you and sidekick in. Kind of like Gauntlet Legends, and like you just don't want to be stuck as like the C-3PO like assassin droid, I guess. His mobility and ability is not so great. So yeah, that's kind of my good idea. Bad idea, I have a whack younglings in Order 66.
Yeah.
So instead of like whacking them with things, you're using a lightsaber hunting them down.
You got a Peter Piper game. You pop up, you're like, wah, wah, wah.
Master Jedi!
As they pop up, you whack them.
So sad.
That would be interesting.
And the Grogu pops up behind the scene.
Yeah.
No! You're coming down. Alright, Jackie, you got another good idea?
I personally would love to see Ezra's like continuing story in a video game.
Post Rebels, like
This is after Rebels when he's on the space whales. So you start off on the space whales.
So where does Thrawn and Ezra go?
Yeah.
I think that would be fun.
Yep.
I would.
A fun adventure. Maybe they end up like a buddy cop situation where they have to work together.
Oh yeah.
You know,
I really do see that happening when they introduce the story.
They have to work together in order to get back or to survive their new circumstances, and you have to deal with that conflict of like, you're evil, but I have to work with you.
And then that's kind of his dilemma with like Thrawn. Like he was working with the Empire to kind of like build an alliance to help the Chiss Ascendancy, where he originally comes from, and so, you know, now he's out in the middle of nowhere trying to get back. Does he go back to the Empire, or does he find out that the Empire's no longer there, and he's all like, peace out, I'm going back home to the Chiss, or I've got my own little like armada, I'm just going to go do my own thing because I'm awesome as a military strategist.
It sounds like that's not the case based off of what we saw in The Mandalorian season 2.
Oh yeah, because he is in the universe. I was like, it's out there. You don't
live there, so
he become his own warlord.
He could become his own warlord thing, you know, because he's already a proven strategist and like he knows what he's doing.
Oh yeah.
So,
I know.
Why not take advantage of a power gap?
It's true.
And so that would be a good like kind of bridge of like what's happening in the Mandalorian and like the 7 years or so difference between what happens with them and there.
Yeah. So I was like, I wanted to know what happens to Ezra. So I was like, video game. if they don't make a show.
Yeah, I really hope so. They may like gloss over it. They haven't come out with anything else like media-wise, so it's something they want to continue. And they keep coming out with Thrawn books, and so I'm sure they'd want to continue.
Thrawn.
Yeah,
Well, he's a very popular character. He was a very popular character before he had any screen time. Period.
yeah.
So the fact that now that with Rebels and them teasing him with the Ahsoka show, yeah, like why not make some sort of show involving Ezra and Thrawn?
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great combination to deal with that internal conflict. That's a great pick.
All right, you want to hear my really great idea?
Is it worse than Wacka Younglings?
You are a merchant from Tatooine going to different areas, and you are selling sand. And your goal is to sell sand to the Empire.
How do you sell sand to the Empire?
I actually had a similar idea.
Oh, yeah?
I had a selling game, yeah, where you had to...
Do you have a character that goes in, "Oh, my bones are aching, Annie. Better head home. There's a storm coming."
You got a salesman game where you have to go around, you have to barter with people. That'd be interesting.
That bartering game, I could see that.
Yeah.
How much are the fish? 8 whoopies.
Yeah, so your final challenge would be to sell sand to Darth Vader, aka Anakin. I hate sand.
And then you end up getting choked out.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Oh, what an untimely ending to the game. Thank you, Darth Vader, for putting me out of my misery. This is my life. All right, Peter, what do you got for a good idea?
So this one I had, and it's very timely because I actually just finished a re-release of an old game, Star Wars Republic Commando, which was about an elite clone force that would do these extremely difficult missions that you wouldn't send an army out to do. And with the now coming out of the Bad Batch, and I just watched the Bad Batch arc in the Clone Wars series. It's the last season, first 4 episodes, where you're introduced to the Bad Batch. They all have their different traits and personalities. Like you got the sniper, you got the technician, you got the
the wrecker,
the
muscle,
demolitionist, yeah. And
you have Hunter, the leader.
Hunter, the leader.
I have this as one of mine too, so it's like, oh, it's perfect. I can help you out. We can throw some ideas out.
Like it was just, because I think the Clone Wars is rich for content.
Oh man, so much.
There's so much that happens in the Clone Wars, and I get if you're not into the cartoon, like if you're not into that show, I still think it's a great TV show.
You have to make it through the first season of...
I think what helps, and unfortunately it's going to require you to do homework, you can find an online guide on how to watch it chronologically. And I think that helps, because it does jump around a lot. And so sometimes you're like, wait, how weren't we already done with this story? Why are we going back to this story? So like, you might have to go back and like look up like what's the chronological order of the Clone Wars series to kind of get to follow through, and I think that it's easier to follow it that way. But there's just so much. There's conflicts on hundreds of planets, and you can deal with like so many issues. Like you can deal with the issue of it could end with them figuring out like what's going on with Order 66, or
because
something
they're different,
crazy like that. Like where they have to go into like the deepest, darkest dungeons or highly secured vaults or whatnot. Like,
oh yeah, they're SEAL Team 6 of of the galactic Civil War.
Yes, so like I think a good game involving them would be amazing.
Oh yeah, you have those like Call of Duty games, you're in a squad and you have different team members. I think it'd be a lot of fun. and to play that game. And that's why I picked it on one of mine too. I was like, oh, this would be great. And so, well, I mean, there's more content coming out with the show coming out.
The show's coming out. It's supposed to take place, I think it'll start during the Clone Wars, probably towards the end of the Clone Wars.
Yeah,
You'll probably see the events of Order 66 happen with them.
I think they'll bring up like Yelbit Prime, where they mentioned it, like, oh, we just came from there. So I think it'll kind of do a little before with flashbacks.
But then it'll be post Clone Wars.
How are they utilized? Do they go along with it? Because you always wonders, like, what happened to the clones afterwards? And
yeah, like that is something that's not commonly talked about.
And you get a little...
Like, you hear that they got phased out, but, like, what do you mean they got phased out? Were they killed? Or they, you know, like, what happened to them? So, I think it would be... I'm excited for the Bad Batch.
More content about the Clone Wars.
Yes.
I always liked material about that, because when it first came out, you're like... a whole war? This is going to be great. And then Star Wars, like Revenge of the Sith ends with it. And you're like, oh.
Yeah,
okay.
like you get Attack of the Clones, which at the last 20 minutes of the movie is the start of the war. And then Revenge of the Sith, it's like,
Yeah, you're thrown into
you get
it.
a couple battles and that's about it. You know, you get the tail end of it. And you're like, oh. And that's why I love the Clone Wars series, because it does fill in that gap of the events that take place in between.
Something you can't show in a movie.
No, you couldn't. And I think a game would be a great place to show that.
Bringing those characters. All right. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
All right. What's a bad idea?
Not a bad idea. It's Cantina Dash.
Cantina Dash.
You know, you got people needing their blue milks and green milks and their dip and all that stuff. You know, like you own a respectable cantina where droids are not allowed.
So you gotta swipe. You gotta
That's
like
right.
ninja.
You gotta kick the droids out.
Gotta kick the leg.
You gotta stop fights in the bar.
That's right. Like,
Was it the Fruit Ninja where you just slice the droids out?
You got the when somebody gets shot up in your cantina, you got to call your janitor over to come and clean it up.
What's going on over here?
So yeah, that's my Cantina Dash.
Cantina Dash.
You get damage if you spill a drink on
That's
you.
right.
All right, I like that. All right, good idea I got is the Mandalorian Wars. With the success of the Mandalorian, there's just so much mystery behind. Boba Fett has always been the drive of like, whoa, who's this Spartan-esque bounty hunter that we see right here? And it's always drive like, we want more, and then you get more in the Clone Wars TV show, and then no, you don't really. You get a little bit.
You get a little bit in Clone Wars.
You get a little bit. Yeah, you like what happened to Mandalore.
Yes.
And then you find out more in Rebels.
Rebels, that's about half the plot right there.
Yeah, is dealing with that. And then you get the TV show, The Mandalorian, and you get more of a different set of that culture. And so with that, you want to know like what are the origins of Mandalore? Like, because there's this great battle between them and the Jedi. It's like you sense that in the TV show with Rebels, where they're just like, or no, with the Clone Wars, right? Don't they talk about like why they just don't like Jedi?
Yes. Yeah.
And it all stems from a war where the Mandalorians were, they were like the conquistadors. They're going out across the galaxy after the Great Sith Wars, and this is not canon. This is kind of legends. It hasn't been established, but until Disney kind of replaces it in the hearts of the fans, this is kind of
canon.
this is our canon. We use it as a reference to like fill in the gaps.
And the thing is, like, there is canon with the Jedi and the Mandalorian War. Like that is canon.
But as to what happened, it's
very
fuzzy.
There's a lot of missing storylines there that can be expounded upon.
And I think that's what I want is with this Mandalorian Wars, where it's been brought up. how they get their armor and like how they use it against the Jedis, how their like lightsabers don't work against the Beskarian steel or iron, and just more information, just kind of guide you through there. You get a very popular character from the old Republic video games, Revan and Malak. Reintroduce them. I know there've been a slight reference here or there throughout the new canon, but this is a good way to reintroduce it. Again, the Old Republic was a 2005 video game? Early 2000s. Okay, graphics have gotten better.
Yes,
and so we can kind of get those great.
That was a
scenes.
great game, though. I love that.
And that's the thing is, why not take something great, revamp it, and infuse it into the new storyline? And I think that would be really cool, because at the time of the Mandalorian War, there's still Sith out there. And
this is before the rule of 2.
Yes, before the rule of 2, and I think you can get, because the Mandalorians the war was perpetuated by a Sith who put on the mask, the ultimate Mandalorian, and so I think you can get a really good story out of that, and kind of fill in that kind of gap and that desire I want.
Why not have the game about the Mandalorian who became a Jedi Knight?
Ooh, that would be good. Yes.
Like,
I had that of bringing in the black saber kind of story.
Let's get the origin story of that. That would be a great storyline.
I'm for that too. Yeah. That's what I'm going with the Mandalorian. More of Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They're a warrior culture. Our video games, we like battle. It perpetuates the journey and the arc. Again, we're not all excited about cleaning,
what?
robots.
Star Wars Janitors is going to be a huge success, guys.
All right, so my bad idea is Dance Dance Revolution as one of Jabba the Hutt's slave girls.
Which kind of already exists, too.
Does it?
Yes, there's it's not like Dance Dance Revolution. It's kind of like a Just Dance, but it's for the Kinect. It was from the Xbox 360, and it was... You watch video footage of it, it's pretty horrendous to watch Han Solo dancing at the Carbonite scene.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, please, no.
You sold us out, the Star Wars franchise,
Right.
please. That's kind of thought. It's just like an awkward, you get to pick out your slave outfit, You're like, I don't know. I don't know how successful that will be. Yeah. All right, Jack, you got one more idea?
Yeah, so... Let's see here. So it is... Okay, so I've got 2 ideas. So one is it's a copy of Super Smash Brothers, but Star Wars theme. So you can fight different characters each other.
Okay.
Of Star Wars.
Super Smash Brothers, Star Wars.
Yeah. So you could choose Chewbacca.
So not necessarily a Mortal Kombat situation where it's a 1v1. It's
dynamic,
four
levels,
4 or more people fighting each other.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
So you can have Chewbacca as one, Darth Vader, little Ewoks.
Ooh, that'd be fun. That would be fun.
And all of a sudden, Darth Vader gets smashed by 2 logs.
That's what I was thinking. You're oh, I think the Ewoks are innocent, and then you got the logs coming in. I think you could have a lot of fun with that.
That's actually one of my games, was an Ewok hunting game, where you are an Ewok and you're hunting on the forest moon.
And at the end, you get to eat all the stormtroopers.
That's right, you eat all the stormtroopers. That's right.
They did a little short kind of addressing the hungry Ewoks with the Forces of Destiny. Where you have General Syndulla and Princess Leia, and I was like, oh, they ruined it. I like the idea that the Ewoks ate all the...
Right.
They're why are they cannibals? They were going to cook Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. They will eat human beings.
Yep, very true.
And then to go off of the janitor idea, we can kind of...
Hey, this is a great concept, guys. Let's build a world on this. Star Wars janitors.
You've got in the trash compactor, the animal in there. It's the Dinoga or something.
Wow, I don't even know what the name. It's the eyeball thing.
Yeah, I had to look it up, but
Dianoga.
Dinoga.
Yes,
Was that one of those like trivia questions that we had?
Oh yeah, it's totally one of those trivia questions where it's all like, why would anyone need to know this? Yeah.
Please
So-
learn anything else but this.
Forget about chemistry. I know what Dianoga is.
So you are that creature, and you are looking. You get certain points for certain trash, and extra points for
Do you take people?
extra points for Jedi's.
That's fine. I like it.
That's a funny one. Yeah.
All right, Peter, what do you got? Last good idea.
Well, I've got
And if you got like extras, do you have? Well, let me go check. Do you have
Yeah,
any
I'm
extras?
good.
You're good. You can
So-
kind of spitfire them real quick.
So like my Spitfires I have, because there are so many great games that I just wish they would just make more of. Like I want another pod racing game. Like we get racing games every year with
Cars
and things like that. Why can't we do that with Star Wars? Like we can come out with a new pod racing game with new tracks, new vehicles, new players.
It's not like pod racing stopped after episode 1.
Right.
Correct. Like it's still a thing. So like I want more pod racing games. I love the X-wing games.
Oh man,
Like on
X-Wing
the
versus
computer.
TIE
X-Wing versus
Fighter,
TIE Fighter.
Rogue Squadron.
I missed Rogue Squadron. Hopefully they bring that back with the movie.
You get the Rumble Pack with your 64.
Right.
Mhm.
The Game Shark. Infinite torpedoes. The Seeker missiles. Yeah. No. So those were my Spitfire ones. But this one is probably my favorite idea I've come up with. And it's kind of like yours, but a little different. This one is not necessarily about like the Mandalorian, but the Mandalorian definitely inspired it. It would be a bounty hunters game, which I know
Oh yeah.
there was a bounty hunter game that was released, I think, on the PlayStation 2 and the GameCube, which was great, but it's kind of an expansion onto that idea in combination with Breath of the Wild. You may not be familiar with Breath of the Wild, but you
Yes.
are, because I know your husband plays it quite a bit.
Yes.
So it's Zelda. It's a Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. It's this open world game where you can literally, if you want, 10 minutes into the game, you can go fight the final boss. It's going to be extremely difficult, and you're probably going to fail, but you have that opportunity. Or you can fulfill these other side missions to help build yourself up, build up gear, build up experience. So like you can be this bounty hunter who's trying to make his name for himself. So he's going around to like different areas on the planet, doing bounties, getting up gear so that he can go take on the bigger bounties to up himself, up his reputation so that he can go take on the big bounty or get off the planet or whatever. That was kind of my big
Yeah, like
idea.
side quests.
Yeah.
Fred. I think that's a good idea. I thought about that too. It popped in my head. I never wrote it down, but I was like, oh yeah, bounty hunter style game, because a very
Yeah.
popular books in the Legend series were the bounty hunter like wars and introducing all those different bounty hunters that you see in Empire Strikes Back on
Right.
Darth Vader's Superstar Destroyer. So yeah, definitely.
So, oh yeah, we could also throw in a gambling game, Why
Oh
not?
yeah.
I threw in like that's one of my bad ideas.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Knight in Canto Blight.
Oh.
They wrote a
yeah.
book about it, and I read it, and it's kind of like Tales of Mos Eisley.
Yeah.
Well, it's Tales of like Canto Blight, and like different characters you see, and you kind of get a feel what's going on. Horrible book. It was probably
Doesn't hold up to the Cantina book, huh?
No, not at all. I mean, it's okay, but it's basically like a night in Vegas with gambling and the different people there. It's one of those books where like this didn't need to be Star Wars. This could have been a Vegas book, and it would have been just as believable.
Right.
So I think a gambling game like that.
You got, Sabak and, got a poker game. There's lots of poker games out there. So why not have Star Wars have their own?
And it could branch off. I could definitely see it branch
Yes.
off into those. Okay. I've got a couple So I'm about continuing the storyline. I have like a Darth Vader. This is a good idea. A Darth Vader kinetic game where you're got like post Revenge of the Sith, where you're going out trying to find the different Jedi's, so you can kind of like do lightsaber fights against them and kind of continue the like what is Darth Vader doing. There's Marvel comic books out there, so they can kind of incorporate that storyline without creating new ones or infringing on possible movies or anything like that. So you kind of incorporate what happens to Darth Vader as he searches for, how does he get his lightsaber and stuff like that. So that's that storyline. And then another one is going to the Great Sith Wars, Jedi's versus them, and like what happened in Malachor. The scene in Rebels where you get this like death planet and
Right.
there's just you're like you see your lightsabers and bodies everywhere. Kind of introduced kind of like where did the Sith come before the Tale of Two Jedi's or Tale of Two Siths. The rule of two. And so I just want more, fill in, more history. And then I think the big game I think that would be good, my good idea would be Han Solo's Scoundrel game. Since Han Solo movie didn't do so well, we may not be getting more movies.
Sure.
And kind of just incorporate his story before Yavin 4, or before he's introduced.
Hey, I would love to have a game of him going through the Imperial Academy. That
Yeah.
would be a
Oh,
great,
yeah.
fun game of him like failing as a pilot because he was being disobedient.
Exactly. You learn about that in the Han Solo book. They talk about like a little brief chapter, like what was going on as him as a pilot, and it was because he was too good and he didn't follow protocol, and that's what got him in trouble. And so yeah, you got like it would be fun to try and do the Kessel Run or try to do the deal with Jabba, like try to see if you can deliver the goods that he couldn't do.
Yeah.
It's like that stuff, or you do side quests where you're trying to get some money to build up the Millennium Falcon because he does like those add-ins, and so it's just I think that would be kind of a fun game where you're in the ship and you're outside of the ship, you're dealing with people, and so that's kind of that would be a game I'd want to play, and with. I know there's the old books with Han Solo in the story, but they've changed things a little bit,
Yes.
and I kind of want to see them incorporate that because you got like Black Sun involved with Darth Maul's.
Yeah, they did bring Black Sun into that. I forgot about that.
It's another dynamic where he's in charge of the underground. Some of my bad ideas, I'm going to spitfire here. You've got Jar Jar Binks game where he's gonna have lots of fun. Made him Italian.
Not the fun.
I don't know what we would incorporate, but it would just you would just be hanging out with Jar Jar Binks. And
Jar Jar getting in trouble. You had to clean up after him.
Oh
It's
goodness!
a Jar Jar fishing game.
Yeah.
You're just swimming. He's like, ow, ow, jumping at the fish. Or maybe it's like that skiing game. Where you're trying to get away from Jar Jar Binks.
Oh, those old like computer games, those Windows games.
What was that called? Was that ski jump or something? I forgot what it was called.
But if you keep going far enough, the Yeti will get.
Yeah.
Jar Jar Binks will get you in the end.
Another one I had was Escape from Sarlacc Pit, Digestions for a Millennia. And then the worst idea I thought would be Galactic Republic Senate procedures, where you're a senator trying to get your bill along. And I kept thinking, I'm just a bill, but dealing with the politics of this galactic empire.
There you go. Why not?
Yeah.
Politics is very popular these days. Why not have a politics game? Everyone loves talking about that.
Like, I'm going to put this through to a committee. Nope, sorry, we're going to do this instead.
No!
Start all over. Then you got to fight for re-election in your planet.
You got to negotiate. You got to make deals with the other senators, and yeah.
So I thought that would be a not very popular game with kids. Very defeating as an
And
adult.
the kids are like, that's why.
That would be a game that you would see a bunch of YouTubers play or streamers play because they have to play these bad games to get people to watch.
To make them interesting. All right, so let's try to finish up with what idea did you think would be a good idea that wasn't yours, Jackie?
I liked the Mandalorian early story. And I also liked the R2D2 computer puzzle game. I'm not a big puzzle video game person, but I do like puzzle games, and so that would be one that I would play.
That is on top of my list. Is that R2 one? That one is very good. Okay, Jackie, what was a bad idea that you thought was just I would never? I think that would be torture.
Order 66.
Wacka younglings.
Wacko younglings.
Got a lightsaber and you slice their heads off as they pop up behind the little seats.
It's a little gruesome.
It's a little dark. Yeah, didn't quite make it. Peter, what was a good idea that you were drawn towards?
I really loved the Emperor Palpatine dating sim. That would be such an entertaining game because as Star Wars fans, we know how to laugh at our own stuff.
Even Dance Dance Revolution on
Dance
Solo.
Dance Revolution. It's silly, but sometimes it's fun to laugh at your fandom, and I think any Star Wars fan would pick up Emperor Palpatine dating sim any day. There was not a doubt in my mind that there wouldn't be a person who plays video games who likes Star Wars would be that game I'm not going to play because it would be the funniest game ever. I know you suggested it as a bad idea, but I think it would work. I think it would sell, honestly. So that was honestly one of my favorite.
That was my surprise too. We're that was good. We kind of ran with that one.
We did. We ran with that one, and it got really good. I'm trying to remember the bad ones.
Well, if they're not memorable, they don't have to.
Maybe the Canto Blight one, whatever.
The gambling one.
The gambling one would be there.
A scene that you can completely cut out of a movie.
Yeah.
And be all right with.
Yeah, because even the bad ones sounded fun. Even your trash compactor one with the giant nugget. That was fun.
An app game, yeah.
Maybe the Sarlacc Pit one. Maybe that one wouldn't be as interesting to me.
Slow digestion.
Slow digestion for 1,000 years. So
they say the stomach acid is not very strong, and that's why it takes forever. So you're just sitting in this pit of just oh. With other people, what's going on, man? Here for the next millennia? Yeah.
So
Boba Fett's I'm getting out of here.
But I did enjoy, anytime we would talk about, anything with the Mandalorians, that was all good. I enjoyed any of that. I think there's a want for more Mandalorian stuff, surprisingly. Who would have thought that Boba Fett would have inspired so much love for
one character creates a whole universe
that has 3 lines of dialogue. Who would have thought that would be the case? But you know what? There's a need because they built it up and they successfully pulled it off in terms of making people want to know more about the Mandalorians.
Yeah, because I know there was a disappointment. People are oh, this isn't about Boba Fett. Oh, what are you gonna do? And
right,
they pulled it off. And I think that's just the culture and mystique of this warrior culture that's come out. I think you guys brought up some great ideas, and there were some bad ideas, some that were actually pretty good ideas, Jackie, with the dating app. So with that, we'll conclude this episode with you sharing some of your good idea, bad idea Star Wars. And if you don't even think it's a video game, or just this would be a cool movie, or a good episode, or a comic book, share that too.
Send it our way.
We like hearing from you guys. We've recently heard from someone, and we're definitely gonna incorporate that.
They gave us an idea, and we're totally gonna do it. So it may not come out as soon as. In fact, by the time this episode comes out, the time period that they said we should have it out will have already passed.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry about that. But...
Yeah, it's crazy how the years pass by and we're already like planning for what's going on in June and July at this point.
Yes. So like, yes, if you send us your suggestions or discussions on different ideas for a podcast, we always take them very seriously. We've already done a few of them.
Yes.
And we're always excited to do more of what you guys want to hear. So
For sure. And so, with that, Jackie, our social medias, you're our announcer for that.
You're our expert. So we're going to defer to you every time this comes up. You get to close us out for that.
Follow us on Instagram. We're Matterhorn Yodelers. You can also we have a Facebook page. Follow us. Like the page. And then you can follow us on YouTube if that's your preferred platform to listen. We're on most podcast channels. Share, like, subscribe.
Yeah, tell your friends.
Tell your friends.
Yeah, I always like to share, like, people, which one should I watch? And I was like, oh, A Day with Walt's good.
Yep.
And I'm probably going to recommend the time travel one for sure. That one's fun. A lot of good work went into that one. So that should be, share your favorite episodes with people. Because I know Disney, not all topics of Disney are for everybody, but like there's some fun ones that are they're kind of fun to go along with, that you don't really have to know much about Disney.
Like, we're not just about history, but we sometimes have fun discussions like this. So
Yes.
we just like having the conversation. That's all. This just gives us an excuse, a reason to talk about this.
Of course. So thank you again for listening, and Auf Wiedersehen.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the Matterhorn Yodelers. Please remember, before your bobsled comes to a complete stop, to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And remember...
Remain seated, please. Permanecer sentados, por favor.